This is my project titled "To Max or Not to Max Collin Sexton." As a Northeastern Ohioan, I am a Cavs fan, and I thought that it would be great to combine my 8 weeks of study and cost-benefit analysis with my love for analytics and sports, especially basketball. So, "To Max or Not to Max" by Collin Sexton, or "To Max or Not to Max Collin Sexton" by Brian Cook. This report is a look into the franchise known as the Cleveland Cavaliers and their ongoing salary cap situation with third-year guard Collin Sexton. In this CBA analysis, it will highlight each complex scenario the Cavs may face going forward in contract negotiations. It will analyze the state of the Cavs roster, their salary cap implications, and their vision for their franchise for years to come. This analysis will be supported by a net present value calculation that will uphold the integrity of cost-benefit analysis. It will also utilize key NBA stats and metrics to identify a monetary value for Sexton. It will examine all that are at stake in this situation, and lastly, examine the pros, cons, and risks and opportunities of each complex situation. So let's talk a little bit about the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers, or the Cavs, are an NBA franchise that have been around for 51 years. They are managed by Koby Altman and owned by Dan Gilbert. They compete at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio, and in their 51-year existence, they have won NBA championship and have hosted arguably the best basketball player in the history of the sport in LeBron James. Since LeBron's departure in 2018, the Cavs have been attempting to revitalize their franchise via the draft. This rebuild has included a top 10 draft pick for the last 3 seasons and menacing money situations. Collin Sexton was the first of the 2018 draft class that the Cavs picked after James's departure, and now he is eligible for a new contract with the franchise. Over a 3-year career, Collin Sexton has shown signs of superstar potential, but there's still considerable question marks surrounding his monetary value for the Cleveland Cavaliers franchise. So, the question arises that, is it in the Cavs' best interest to offer Sexton a maximum money contract? The Cavs right now have serious salary cap questions, and offering 25% of the salary cap, which is equivalent to a max contract, to a player that they have questions about definitely deserves a deeper look. In terms of impacting winning, Collin Sexton has very little to do with that. Over the last 3 years, the Cavs have been one of the least successful franchises in the NBA, and with that, is Collin Sexton really the reason and going to be the way the Cavs turn around their whole entire franchise? These are the tough decisions that lie ahead, but with that being said, we're here to go ahead and dive into them. So let's take a look at the stakeholders here. We have Koby Altman, who is the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, J.B. Bickerstaff, the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin Love, pictured below, and Darius Garland, who are both core pieces to the Cavaliers franchise, and lastly, Collin Sexton in the economy of Cleveland. The most important stakeholder from this analysis, I would say, is probably the fans and Collin Sexton to an extent. Let's take a look at the fans. If the Cavs make the right move and sign Sexton and he turns into a star, it will breathe a breath of fresh air into a city that's hungry for a star and hungry for a successful franchise. This revitalization will lead to an increased attendance, revenue, and business around the arena, and it will make the city flourish, putting more money into the small market economy that is Cleveland. But, on the contrary, the wrong move could possibly hamper Cleveland's economy, and with the remodeling of their arena and some of the money that is put into the arena, this could be problematic. The one that holds the most influence in this entire study, in this entire contract situation, is Koby Altman. The reason being, Kobe Altman is the general manager of the Cavs. So whatever direction he chooses to go, whether it's to re-sign Collin Sexton, to offer him a max contract this year, to offer him it later down the line, or to completely say, hey, we don't want you, and let him walk in free agency, it's going to directly affect his job. And the eyes will be on the franchise and on the front office to see what they're going to do. The ones who have the least stake, I'd say, in this whole entire study is the core pieces of the Cavs. The reason being is it's the NBA, it's a professional sports organization. So things from the players in the NBA are always considered interchangeable. When one player goes, they're all constantly looking for the next player that can fill that player's shoes. So Kevin Love and Darius Garland are core pieces for the Cavs in their winning ways. However, if Collin Sexton's contract situation goes one way or the other, and those players either leave or get less money, it's not going to really put that much of an impact on the organization. On the contrary, the Cleveland fans have just as much of a stake in this as anybody else, including Collin Sexton, because the fans are the ones that spend their money. Collin Sexton, for obvious reasons, has a giant stake in this because it's his contract situation. And with that being said, if he plays extraordinary this season and for seasons to come, he will play his way into a max money contract and force Kobe Altman to give him exactly the money that he feels he deserves. So let's take a look here at the stats and the metrics. I think it's important to note that all these stats and metrics are from weeks ago in the study that I did when I compiled the data weeks ago. With that being said, they're still very accurate and as accurate as they could possibly be. So, when assessing Collin Sexton's contract situation, a few things stood out to me. In terms of him deserving max money, if you assess based on the guards in his draft class, Trae Young and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's without a doubt a top 3 guard. He's having a better season than Trae Young statistically, and a very comparable statistical season to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This level of play that has readily increased since his first season has put Sexton in the company to earn max contract money, or 25% of the salary cap. One important thing to note is Trae Young was brought into the NBA and touted as the next Steph Curry or an elite sniper shooter from three-point range. With that being said, Collin Sexton is outplaying him this year in terms of three-point percentage. Collin Sexton is 2% better than Trae Young, and Collin Sexton was widely regarded in the NBA when he came in as someone who could not shoot and was just merely a guy that could play in the paint. So it's important to note that Collin Sexton is always getting better, and he statistically is outplaying Trae Young this year, who many consider one of the max money players of that 2018 draft class. Taking a look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Collin Sexton, I believe, matches up best with him. I think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Collin Sexton, in terms of money, should be getting paid about the same amount. While Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does have the edge in certain metrics, including field goal percentage and three-point percentage, Collin Sexton is averaging more points than him. So from a statistical standpoint, you could obviously say that both of them bring a very good amount of impact to the game statistically. The real story here is the real plus minus. When looking at real plus minus, or a metric that pretty much shows the impact of each player that they have on the court beyond the statistics, which is increasingly more accurate, it's important to note that Sexton is closer to Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of impact. Both Sexton and Alexander struggle to impact winning, which may be a red flag to the organization. So, as you can see, Sexton and Gilgeous-Alexander are both in the back 100 for real plus minus and win shares in the NBA out of all the players. While, on the contrary, Trae Young ranks in the top 60 for win shares in only his third year too at that. With that being said, I'd say that Collin Sexton overall has one of the better ranks in terms of offensive and defensive real plus minus. he ranks 37th and 43rd in RPM at point guard, while Trae Young, who also plays point guard, ranks 88th and 7th in defensive and offensive RPM respectively. With that being said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander ranks 81st and 27th in defensive and offensive real plus minus respectively as well, but his is at the shooting guard position. Both guards, but all three of them are comparable, but I would say Collin Sexton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are the two closest. So taking a look at net present value here, we decided to take a value and assess take the net present value of a max contract and what it would look like now and assess it and what it would look like in terms of future value. So after calculating on the basis of a 5-year maximum deal and a minimum 3% salary cap increase from year to year in the NBA salary cap, I came up with the figure that if you offer Sexton a $31 million, $825,224 contract this summer, that's the maximum money, the future value of that contract 5 years down the road will be $36,894,157. This is an important number to know for the rest of the study. So let's take a look at scenario 1 here. The Cavs can offer Sexton a max deal in the summer of 2021 and 2022, which would estimate about $31,825,224 over the next 5 seasons. The value of this contract is equal to $36,894,157 over the next 5 seasons, which is a great number for the Cavs to note. This means that if they can offer Sexton in the next year to 3 years a contract that's under this net present value amount or this future value amount, then the Cavs can max out the value that they put on the contract that they give Sexton. The pros of offering him this contract right now are that they make a 5-year commitment to a young player and establish him as a pillar of the franchise. They could keep a good standing relationship with Sexton. They get the most monetary value for Sexton's contract by offering it now, and they gain a consistent 25-point-per-game score. But the cons are that when you give him this money right now so soon, you tie up around 70% of the Cavs' salary cap. You also commit to a player that doesn't impact winning as much as you would like. And then, on top of that, you spend 25% of the salary cap on one player as opposed to multiple that could help you win right now. Scenario 2. The Cavs can wait until the summer of 2022 and 2023 and offer Sexton the qualifying offer of $8,560,000 for 1 season. This makes Sexton a restricted free agent, which also means that Sexton has the ability to talk and negotiate with other teams, but the Cavs have first dibs in terms of, whether they want to keep him or not. They can match the salary cap or the contract offer that any team puts on the table for Sexton, or they can say, hey, we don't want to pay him that much money and let him walk to whatever team he decides to do. So the pros are that they allow for another year to evaluate Sexton's play on the court, which I think is a great idea. It saves immediate money to evaluate the rest of the roster and his financial situation. It allows the Cavs to monitor the market for Sexton and see what other teams think his worth is. On the contrary, the Cavs must match the offers from another team, which is at minimum probably going to be an 8% increase from the max contract that the Cavs would offer. It threatens the relationship between Cavs management and Sexton because it shows not a non-committal tone to Sexton and his agent. It also allows Sexton the chance to be an unrestricted free agent, which means that the Cavs have the chance of losing him without getting anything for him in the following summer. Scenario 3. The Cavs can offer Sexton the max deal in 2022 and 2023, which will be approximately worth $34,371,241. The pros of this are that they allows the Cavs to see the market for Sexton. Once again, it gives the Cavs the option of salary cap flexibility. They're allowed to evaluate the roster another year and figure things out. So, If the Cavs also do this, they allow the Cavs to offer money with another year of Sexton's evaluation and another year of roster evaluation. The best thing about this, too, is that the contract will still be under the value of the future value of the first year's contract, which means they'll still be getting some bang for their buck and not overpaying. But with that being said, you still lose a little bit of value in the max contract as opposed to offering it sooner. The final scenario is the Cavs could let Sexton become an unrestricted free agent and offer him the money that they want to offer him. But this being said, the pros are slight. The evaluation process is more complete on Sexton and the roster, so they can go into this, and the year that he becomes an unrestricted free agent, they can go into this and they can basically say, hey, we know exactly what kind of player we have and exactly what kind of roster we have. Do we need to offer him this money? This also ties in the fact that they can offer him a more accurate salary that fits what they want. And then, for obvious reasons, it gives you more flexibility under the salary cap to do what you want to do. However, the cons are, it breaks the relationship between Cavs management and Sexton. If they let him become an unrestricted free agent, that shows that the Cavs don't really trust him to lead the franchise. But this also means they take a chance on losing a piece to their rebuilding process. Collin Sexton, whether you like it or not, is a key piece of the Cavaliers. He's contributed to some of their wins, and he's a 25-point per game guy. If you lose him and let him walk in unrestricted free agency, you have the chance on losing a guy that could have potentially helped your franchise win based on the pieces that you put around him. Taking a look here at the risks and the opportunities, it's pretty clear that there are some substantial risks, but with that being said, there are some substantial opportunities as well. The Cavs have a unique opportunity to completely change the culture and trajectory of their franchise based on their commitment to Collin Sexton or the lack thereof. The right decision in the situation will allow the Cavs flexibility in their cap space, gain a player for the future of their franchise, and finally bring some star power to their team to help the economy of Cleveland and their on-court success. On the contrary, the wrong move could lead to many risks and problems for the Cavs. This could lead to staff and stakeholder turnover. So all the stakeholders that I mentioned above could get fired, except obviously the players and the Cavs fans. If they make this decision and Collin Sexton doesn't pan out to be a piece to winning, it will keep a losing culture in Cleveland, which is what they absolutely do not want. This also messes with your organizational reputation, because if you botch this and you don't make the right move, the Cavs won't be looked at as a team that many players will want to go to. And obviously, the revenue will decrease because you'll be putting out a loser, and you'll be putting out a team that doesn't draw any interest to the fans of Cleveland. In professional sports, your organization is measured by success. The success of the organization will determine how long the front office and coaching staff will be around for the future of the organization. So if this move leads to more losing, you can bet that there will be changes made to the organization. In turn, losing results in damaged culture throughout the organization, and if you have a team of losers and a losing culture, it affects the team's reputation, their revenue, and their long-term infrastructure for the city of Cleveland. So in conclusion, it's clear that Sexton is a well-deserved piece to the Cavs' young core for the future. Whether you like it or not, he works extremely hard. He has the statistics to back it up. And while he doesn't impact winning greatly, it could be one of the pieces that impact winning in the future. So, with that being said, I think that scenario 3 is the best option for the Cavs to implement regarding Sexton's contract. Basically, the Cavs can offer Sexton a max deal, not this summer, but the following summer. With them doing that, they allow for their roster to take more of a shape and figure out where the roster, in the direction the roster is going, can be. They also will still have the necessary value on the contract that they won't have to overpay for Sexton. And on top of that, you establish a core piece, to your franchise. And I think that's very important for the Cavs to do. They need to find a direction, make that direction, and stay on that direction. You want stability within your organization, and with the re-signing of Collin Sexton in the summer of 2022 and 2023, the Cavs will get that. And with that being said, I think that the Cavs will go ahead on and wait a year and make the decision to re-sign Collin Sexton here. So this is my project. These are my references. Thank you for listening to this project, and I hope you guys all have a good one.